Alright there guys, let's talk about these next parts. Scaling the graph axes. So this is all about biggest, smallest, what you're going to count by, because again, if you're looking at this saying, Mr. Collins, I don't know what that word means. Increment means nothing more than count by, okay? So what we have to decide when we look at any of these graphs is what's the biggest, what's the smallest, what's reasonable to count to that biggest and smallest number. Let's just jump into it. Minimum x value. Well, I got to go to 0. So I think 0 is going to be fine because one of the rules is I always want to be able to see my axis. 0 is the axis. Biggest number is going to be 12. Now, before I put down the 12 as a max value, I have to decide what I want to count by. Because if I'm going to count by 5s, I can't go to 12 because I can't get to 12 counting by 5s. But if I'm looking at my table, it's pretty naturally already counting by 2. So if I do choose 12 to be my max value, I can count by 2s and be a-okay. Let's talk about y's. Well, okay, the min value here is 0, which is good. I'm looking across my table that's only going up. But look at my big value. My big value is 3,600. So what that leaves me, gets me into trouble because what am I even going to count by? So if I have to get to 3,600, that's going to be tougher. I can count by hundreds, but that's not going to help. That's like 360 points to count. I can count by thousands, but I can't really get to 3,600 counting by thousands. So I guess I could bump it up to 4. But again, I think the answer is going to lie in our table. If I'm looking at my table, it's always going up by 600. I can just count by that. So I can go to 3,600 counting by 600 at a time. All right, let's take another example in. Okay, so smallest value, biggest value. Well, look, smallest value is 0, biggest value is 30. I don't know if I want to get to 30 counting by 1s, but I think if I choose to go to 30 counting by 5s, that should be okay. Let's check this out. We got lowest number 7, biggest number 49. Now my smallest value, I'm going to go ahead and kick it down to 0. And again, this is not the smallest value of the table. It's the smallest value that you would graph if you were to graph the table. And you always want to see your axes, therefore start at 0. Now here's going to be a weird choice. I'm going to go ahead and pick 49 again. And the reason being, if I'm looking at my numbers, those are all counting by 7s. And I can get away with doing that because they're all incremented by 7. Now, one last example, and here's where it gets kind of weird. Smallest number, biggest number. We got 0 and 0 to 20. I am going to go ahead and get to 20, but what I'm going to choose to count by is going to be 2s, and that'll give me 10 things to count out. Not too bad. On the y's, I got 0 for my min. There are no axes. I'm sorry, negatives. And then I have 1.4 as my biggest. So I can't count by 1s. I can't really count by 0.5s. I think what I'm going to do is just count by 0.2s. Oops. So 1.4, I'm going to count by 0.2 because that would just leave me 7 things to count. So again, it's all about kind of mixing in what you see as your biggest and lowest and kind of acknowledging if I have to get to 300, I'm not going to count by 1s. I'm going to count by like 50s. If I have to get to like 49, okay, if I can count by 7s to get there, I'm going to count by 7s. If I have to get to 3,600, I'm not going to count by 1s or 2s or even 100s. I'm going to count by something much bigger, in this case 3,600, okay? So that's what it means to scale your axes. Thank you guys for practicing with me. What was that, part 6, part 7? I forget.